Today in our 2009 Dodge Ram 2500, we'll be having a look at and installing the Firestone Air Command 1 analog gauge with standard duty compressor, part number F2158. Alright, here's what our compressor looks like installed. This compressor will allow us to operate our airbags from inside the cab of our vehicle, so we don't have to leave the vehicle at all to use a manual inflation port at the rear bumper. This will allow us to air up or air down. We have a nice, easy to read gauge on the inside. And this compressor is a nice small compact unit which we can easily mount and conceal in our vehicle in a variety of locations. Now that we've shown you underneath, we'll show you the controls inside. We have this nice, easy to read display. Our compressor is rated for up to 130 psi, so this will give us an indication if our compressor is putting out more power than what it's supposed to and there's a problem with it. You want to make sure you don't exceed the limits of what your airbags are rated for. In our particular application, our airbags are only rated to 100 psi, so we don't want to exceed 100 psi when we're using this compressor system. The easy to read red needle, the white display. Now at nighttime, when your headlights are on, you have this incandescent light bulb behind the display which will illuminate it, making it easier for you to read. The operation is very simple. When we want to let air out of our system, just hold down the switch. And it releases air fairly quickly. When you want to air back up, just push the switch up and the compressor will turn on and inflate your airbags. This single stage compressor is ideal for operating up to one pair of airbags. Now, unlike a dual stage compressor, this will only let you air up the airbags as a set. You can't do side to side or individually. If you would like that, you would need to purchase a dual stage compressor system. Now, what sets this air compressor kit apart from other units is that our gauge and our switch are all combined into one unit. You don't have to find a location to mount your gauge and then mount your switch. It's all combined into one, so it's easy to use, easy to mount, and is right there for everything you need. Now that we've gone over some features, we'll show you how to get it installed. All right, the first thing we need to do is find a place to mount our compressor. Now, on our particular truck, it's four-wheel drive and is also diesel. So we're limited on our frame space, but right here on our driver's side frame rail on the inside between our fuel tank and our transfer case gives us a great opportunity to mount our compressor in this area to the frame. Okay, we're going to secure it to our frame with some self-tapping screws. You'll have to provide your own for this. We also have some available on our website. Okay, with it marked, we'll drill out a pilot hole to make our screw go in easier. Okay, we'll place our compressor back up in place. And we'll do the same process for the remaining three pieces of hardware. Okay, now that we have our compressor securely mounted, this black wire here is our ground wire. It has a ring terminal on it. We can just attach this directly to the frame with a self-tapping screw. We're going to route this behind our compressor outlet right there. That way the wire will be tucked up, and we'll mark it where we want it, and we'll drill this out. Okay, with our pilot hole drilled, we'll now place our ring terminal over the hole and secure it with our self-tapping screw. Okay, this will give our compressor a nice solid ground. Okay, now we're going to take one end of our airline tubing and we're going to cut off the end of it a little bit just so we have a nice clean and square cut. We're using an airline tubing cutter to do that. It's part number F9009 on our website. Okay, this barb here on the side is the intake for our air compressor. So we're going to slide our airline tubing onto this. Sometimes you need to soak these in hot water for a few minutes before you slide them on, but ours slid on pretty easy today, so we didn't need to do that. Now we'll create a loop in our airline tubing. This will act as a water trap in case any condensation were to build up inside of it. So we'll just tuck that up here and we'll secure it to the frame wiring harness using a zip tie. Okay, with our loop made, trim off our excess zip tie. Put one more in it right here. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and route the rest of our airline into our engine bay so we can mount our air filter for it. All right, so we just followed our wiring harness here from our loop, secured it with a couple zip ties, went up to these fuel lines here and zip tied up to here, I'll be fine. Followed up the firewall, made sure we avoided our steering shaft because that part does rotate. Then we have it zip tied up to another wiring harness further up, and that's where we're going to install our filter. Okay, this is our air filter housing right here. This is where we're going to connect our airline tubing to once you screw on the fitting. You just want to finger tighten this because you're going on the plastic. Okay, if that's secure, we're going to put it over in this area here and secure it with a zip tie. Now, I've already measured off our airline tubing from where we have it ran. We're fine, we're within the specifications. Just something you want to keep in mind when you do this, you want to have your filter no more than 6 feet away from your compressor. We're right at about 6 feet, so we're at the limits, but we're good. So we'll just use our airline tubing cutter again. Place on our filter housing onto the airline. We were able to push it down past all of the ridges on the barb fitting, so it'll be a nice secure connection. We don't have to worry about it pulling off. So we'll just secure this up with the zip tie so we don't have to listen to it rattle. Okay, now underneath our dash on the driver's side, just to the left side and above our steering column, we'll find this round hole between these two studs. This is where your clutch pedal will be mounted if your vehicle was a manual. Ours is an automatic, so we have access to this. We're going to drill a hole through this. I've already verified that there's nothing behind it that we have to worry about in the engine bay. Just go right through the center of it. This will give us an access place to pass our wiring and our airline tubing through. We're going to attach our airline that will go to our airbags off of our gauge. That goes to this fitting here that goes to the back of the gauge. This is your output. So we'll just get it onto our fitting, twist it back and forth. So it goes down all the way. Okay, that's good. So we'll just leave this inside the cab, find the other end of our airline, and pass it through the hole in the firewall that we drilled. Making sure we leave some slack to work with on the inside. All right, now we need to find a place to mount our switch panel and gauge. We're gonna mount it on the left side of the dash, right here down low, so it's easily accessible while driving. Ideally, we would mount it on the right side of the dash, but our brake controller our customer has is already mounted there, so this will have to work. This is where the customer wants it. We'll secure it with some self-tapping screws. Well, I'm going to put one in on the right side of it so we can swing it down out of the way to make our other connections when we need to. Okay, our output line that we stuck through the firewall from our gauge panel, we went ahead and routed it down our firewall, following our filter line for our compressor. Just zip tied it along the same wiring harness. We got past our compressor, zip tied it to this wiring harness here, went above our fuel tank, above our cross member here, in here for our frame. Where it comes out behind our fuel tank, we have it zip tied to this wiring harness again. So you see we're right above our driver's side airbag now, and this is where we're going to tie into our airbag system. All right, so our airbags have already been tied together to use one manual inflation port. So if we tie in just off one airbag, it'll still affect the other one, so that's good. We've already let the air out of our airbags. Use our tubing cutter here, and we'll make a cut right in the middle. Make sure it's squared off. We'll install our T fitting. Just push in until it stops and it's secure. Now we'll measure off how much we're going to need for our compressor line to go into. Once we have it fully inserted, we'll pull back and make sure it's all secure. Okay. Now our wiring harness with our relay, the orange wire coming off of it is our compressor positive wire. We got a female connection here on the compressor and a male on the wiring harness. We'll just plug the two in together. We'll route our wire up and we'll zip tie it to our wiring harness here. Okay, we went ahead and zip tied up our orange wire to our airline tubing and our wiring harness. Okay, brought it forward where we have our relay box secured up. We have one on the back side of it here by the connector and then one on the relay itself to hold it in place. We have our white wire and our red wire separate. We'll go ahead and bring those up into our engine bay just like we did the two air hoses. Okay, so we brought up our fuse holder, our wiring. It's just the two wires, we have the red one and the white one. Now our white wire will pass through the hole in the firewall that we have. Okay, we'll pull that all the way in. Okay, so the white wire that we brought through the firewall will connect to this white wire here, which is this one. It's the horizontal one when you're looking in relation to the beam that connects your gauge. So we'll just plug those two together, like so. Now one of the black wires here will be the power wire for our light that illuminates the gauge. It doesn't matter which one we use because a light bulb all it needs is power and ground. It doesn't matter which direction. So we need to find a dash light to tap into. There is one above our cup holder in the center console. All right, well this is a light right here above our cup holder. This provides illumination for us on our cup holder area. We'll come off to the right side of it with a screwdriver, open up the tab, and it'll pry down, and we'll have access to it. So here's the tab right here, you push in, and it comes down. We have our two wires on it right here. So whenever we turn our headlights on, it comes on. We'll remove some of this electrical tape right here to gain access to the wires. Now of our two wires that we have a black and a white. The white one's the power wire, so that's the one we're gonna make our connection to. Okay, we'll slide on one of our quick connects onto the white wire. Make sure it goes in all the way. Now we're gonna use a piece of green wire that we had laying around. If you need to purchase some wire, we have some available on our website. It's part number 16-1-1. It's sold by the foot. You'll need about 3 feet. We'll slide that to the other end. Okay. Now with that down, we'll now squeeze down our connector. Pair of needle nose pliers. Then we'll close it back up. Make sure our other wire's not in the way. Okay, we fed our wire in through the hole that our light sits into. So now we'll reinstall the light. Let's push it back into place. Okay, our green wire that we made our connection with came out behind our center console here in our dash. We'll measure off how much we're gonna need, plus a few inches of slack, and cut off the excess. And we'll strip back some insulation from it. And we'll attach a blue butt connector that we have available on our website. These are for 14 to 16 gauge wires. And we'll take one of our black wires again, strip off a little more insulation from it, stick it in the butt connector after we twist our wires together here so it goes in nice and smooth. We'll crimp that down too. That leaves us with our other black wire and then our other white wire. Now these two wires we'll need to tie together and use them as a ground. So what we're gonna do, we'll cut off our white wire here, strip back some more insulation on the black wire and the white wire, and we'll twist these two together. Okay, have our wires tied together, put a butt connector on them, crimp it down. Now our leftover white wire, we'll strip off the end, and I'll reinstall it in the butt connector, crimp it down. I'll cut off this spade terminal here. You don't need that. Strip back the insulation. And we'll place on a ring terminal. And we'll crimp it down. Now we're going to attach this to the vehicle's sheet metal to use as a ground. Now our vehicle already has a nice ground point underneath the dash with a 10mm bolt. We'll show you where that's at, and that's where we're going to attach it to. Okay, so there's a metal panel underneath our dash. And if you follow the hood release cable and look up, you see the metal panel, and there's a goldish brass color connector that's bolted to it. That's your ground connection point, and that's the bolt we're going to be using. It's a 10mm bolt. So that's what it looks like installed. Okay, now we'll plug our airline tubing into the final airline fitting on the back of our panel here. And we'll feed the end of it through a hole in the firewall. Now that all of our connections are made, we can swing back our controller here to the location that we want. Make sure it's nice and level, and we'll install our final screw. Okay, perfect. We went ahead and secured up all of our wiring underneath the dash, so it won't be in the way of our pedals while we're driving or any other moving parts. We used a couple zip ties and secured it off to existing wiring harnesses or metal brackets. Okay, now our air hose, we went ahead and routed the same path as all of our other air hoses, just zip tied it to them. Now we'll take our push connect fitting here, take out this plug, and we'll screw it into our compressor. Then we'll use a 1/2-inch wrench and we'll just snug it down until the thread seal engages it. Now, just like we did for our input, we're going to make a loop to act as a moisture trap. Measure off how much we're going to need and make a nice clean cut. And we'll plug it into the push fitting. And we'll secure up our lines with some zip ties. Now we'll go connect it to our battery. All right, so on our fuse holder here, we'll strip back some more insulation. We'll attach a ring terminal onto it, crimp it on down, and we'll loosen up our positive battery terminal right here. It's a 13mm. We'll take this nut off completely. And we'll place on our ring terminal and reinstall the nut. After we made our connection to the battery, our install was complete, so we operated our compressor to fill our system with air. Now we'll check all of our connection points with some soapy water to check for any leaks. If we don't see any bubbles, we know we're good. And that completes our look at and installation of the Firestone Air Command 1 analog gauge with standard duty compressor, part number F2158 on our 2009 Dodge Ram 2500.